Support for the Eyes Free Sports podcast is brought to you by Clusive. As a blind or visually impaired athlete, you know how important training is. With Clusive, you can take training on assistive technology, occupational, and career skills all online to help you reach your employment goals. Learn more at www.clusive.io. That's www.clusiv.io. Hello, and welcome to episode 90 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. This is your host, Greg Lindberg. Here on our 90th episode of the podcast, we are chatting about the USBTA, which is the United States Blind Tennis Association. And I know we had previously spoken about the IBTA, the International Blind Tennis Association. So in this episode, we're kind of focusing on how blind tennis is starting to grow and catch on here in the US. So let's go ahead and hit the tennis court now and get swinging with episode 90. Okay, so joining me here on this episode of the podcast is Dana Costa, and Dana is the president of the USBTA, which is the United States Blind Tennis Association, as well as the Highland Park Tennis Club. Dana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to this. I know I did chat with Samir Mahir, president of the International Blind Tennis Association, on a previous episode. So really excited to chat more about kind of the U.S. focus when it comes to blind tennis.
Yeah, we're excited to tell you about it.
Awesome. So why don't you just kind of introduce yourself, Dana, as far as your personal and professional backgrounds here to start us off.
As stated, my name's Dana Costa. I am the president of the Highland Park Tennis Club, which is a nonprofit organization centered around our free summer tennis clinics located in Pittsburgh. I've been involved with them for a little over 10 years and president for the last 4 years. And in about 2019, we explored the new to us world of blind and visually impaired tennis. And last year, we started the United States Blind Tennis Association, which is on the pathway of becoming a nonprofit organization as well, that is designed to set up and grow the sport of blind and visually impaired tennis in the U.S.
Wow, that's amazing. So definitely a very new organization, new effort when it comes to the USBTA, right? Correct.
Yes, very new.
Nice. And I understand, is it a daughter that you have who's visually impaired?
Yes, my daughter, Dana Costa, she is 9 years old. And we found out that she had a rare congenital disorder when she was about 6 weeks old. It's called congenital fibrosis of the extraocular muscles, which limits her visual fields, and she's unable to open her eyes fully and unable to move the eyeball itself.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I've not heard of that particular condition.
Most have not. To my understanding, it's about one in a million, which defines my daughter pretty accurately.
Right. Like one in the lotto, right?
Yeah. Yes. Luckiest girl I know.
Right. And I'm curious, is she mainstreamed in school, or where does she attend school?
She attends a public school here in Pittsburgh. Yes, she is mainstreamed. It's very hard to say she actually has a visual impairment. Most don't even realize. She doesn't let it define her, nor does she let it hold her back. She plays both sighted and visually impaired sports. She's very active. Yeah, it's very hard to say that she has a visual impairment.
Right. Sounds like she's got a great attitude.
Very much so.
Awesome. So then in terms of adaptive sports for the blind, and specifically blind tennis, so I would imagine, having a visually impaired daughter kind of gave you that inspiration to maybe look into getting involved in these types of sports?
Yes, exactly. We are fortunate enough to have a group, it's called Envision Blind Sports, that introduces young athletes to different blind sports over a week-long camp. And she was invited to attend. and she actually played blind hockey. And I could not, I didn't even understand how that was possible, being very new to the blind and visually impaired world at the time. And the sport that I know and love is tennis. And I just didn't understand how hockey was able to be adapted for blind and visually impaired athletes, but tennis, not so much. So we started this deep dive down a rabbit hole to discover blind and visually impaired tennis was played all over the world, except for not so much here in the States.
Right. And I understand you and your husband have played tennis for quite a while as well.
Yes, that's actually how I became involved in tennis. My husband grew up playing. He grew up across from the local tennis courts, and I always joke and say if I wanted to see him, I had to learn the sport as well. That was his second wife. So he lives at the tennis court, and so I just caught on. And now we joke also is if we ever get a divorce, it's not the kids we have to go to court over, it's the tennis court. So
I like that. Yep, you're definitely serious about it, and I can tell. So then before we get into the USBTA, let's just chat about blind tennis in general, as far as kind of how the game works, the rules, and the equipment.
So blind and visually impaired tennis is quite unique. It has its own set of rules. It has its own sport in and of itself. And it's broken up based off of your sight classification. So a B1 athlete, as you know, is somebody who has no vision, maybe just some light perception. So if you're a B1 athlete, you play on a much smaller court. The dimension sides are much smaller. About, if you're familiar with a tennis court, it's the service boxes. And then there are tactile lines around the perimeter of the court. And then you play with a smaller racket. And then the ball itself is its own ball. It's a mechanical rattle ball inside of a foam ball, and it's slightly larger. And a B1 athlete is allowed to have 3 bounces and has to make contact before the 4th bounce. And that also changes based off your sight classification. So B2 will have 2 bounces, a B3 will have 1 bounce, and then a B4 would have 1 bounce as well. I
see. Interesting. So obviously visual classification is definitely important when it comes to tennis.
Yes, very much so. And, that creates different categories as well based off of, so B1, you can be an advanced B1 player, a beginning B1. So there's several different divisions that you can play in if you're new to the sport, or if you've played for a long time and pick it up pretty quickly.
Right. Gotcha. And then just a little more as far as the court. Do you have like the dimensions, offhand, and a little more on the tactile, aspects of the court as well?
A B1 player playing singles would play on a 12.8 meters by a 6.1 meter. B2 to B5, the court dimensions increase, and they play on an 18.28 meters long by 8.23 meters. And then, as I was saying before, a B1 player, they have lines that are tactile and they're taped down. It's court tape over top of paracord, very much like goal ball.
Right. I was going to say, yeah, it sounds very much like the goal ball kind of tape and tactile aspect. Mm-hmm. And I was curious, would you say that someone needs to have experience playing tennis in order to play blind tennis, or would they be able to kind of be coached and trained enough without that prior experience?
I treat blind tennis very much like I treat sighted tennis. If you are interested in playing and have no background in tennis, we'll start you from the very beginning. It's all about what you would like to get out of BVI tennis is what we would like to offer. If you want to just learn the game and play recreationally, You can do that with no prior experience. If you've had some background in tennis and want to advance and begin competing, we can take you on that level as well.
Excellent. Nice. So let's move on to the USBTA, the US Blind Tennis Association. So I know you mentioned it was started in 2022, last year, and just talk to me a little more about how it was founded, kind of how the pieces were put together, and what the organization currently looks like.
So as you said, we started this new journey about a year ago, and we are on the path of becoming a nonprofit as well. The paperwork and the logistics are filed. We're just waiting for approval. We are a volunteer-based organization, and we found the need to grow it to the U.S. and take it a little bit further than just our local area. We found that the need in the U.S. was much greater. I shouldn't say much greater. It was there was a need in the U.S. as well as the local level. So we started this with a mission to grow across the country, plant new programming in other cities, in using the Pittsburgh Blind Tennis Group as an example, and just bring awareness to the sport and help others be successful as our program was here.
Right. Interesting. And how many individuals do you have kind of involved? Is there like a formal board at this point, or how does it look?
Yes, we have a formal board. We are finalizing all the board positions, but right now we do have a vice president. We have a head pro, marketing, basically all that you would find in a nonprofit organization and other organizations. We do have monthly regular meetings, and everything has to be board approved before moving forward.
Gotcha. And then in terms of events, have you guys put on any events so far, or do you have anything kind of in the kitty here coming up?
We have planted programs. We have traveled to Cincinnati, offered resources, instruction, train the trainer programs. Cincinnati is a very successful program right now that with offering free clinics to their individuals in their area. We have worked very closely with a group blind sports organization in the Philadelphia area, and same process. We trained their trainers and went out there and helped them kickstart a program. Our upcoming events is in Atlanta. It will be in September. And we are working on a group in Wisconsin as well and hope to travel out there in July. In the past, we just recently worked with the USTA and had our first ever blind and visually impaired conference at the USTA National Campus and held the first ever blind and visually impaired tournament at the USTA National Campus. And that happened in February.
Oh, wow. Very cool. And where was that held?
It was held in Orlando at the USTA National Tennis Center.
Gotcha. Very interesting. And then just kind of in terms of goals of the USBTA, obviously growing blind tennis in general, it sounds like you're definitely, from a grassroots standpoint, really getting out there in multiple places around the country. Any other specific goals that you guys have at this point?
A long-term goal is that we are able to have a program in all states across the country eventually to hold world games here in the States and just to continue to grow awareness for the sport.
Right. Interesting. In terms of international, opportunities out there, countries that really kind of have mastered blind tennis, any perspective on that from you?
This is all a very new world to me, and I'm still learning the ropes. What I have found are the groups in Ireland. Simon McFarland he's one of the lead instructors, and his program has set a great example for what I would like to mirror here in the States. The Lawn Tennis Association, too, has a great program, and they've been a wealth of knowledge for us.
Right. Very interesting. I always like to ask my guests whether they play blind sports or involved in blind sports in some way. What would you say the benefits are of being involved in adaptive sports as someone with a disability?
I think just the excitement and knowing that you're offering a sport that you might have been led to believe you weren't able to play, and defying those odds and proving that it is possible. I think that has to be the most rewarding part of all of this.
Right. Absolutely. And I know just from my standpoint, just kind of the camaraderie, obviously, of meeting other blind and visually impaired individuals, and certainly those that might have similar athletic goals and passions and whatnot, I would imagine you would kind of agree with as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Just a whole new world has opened up that we weren't once introduced to.
Right, right. And your daughter, did you say she is pretty active in sports herself?
My daughter, outside of tennis, she plays sighted hockey and sighted softball.
Oh, wow. Very cool. So then to wrap up here in terms of the USBTA, and let's just say blind tennis in general, how can individuals learn more about, blind tennis and learn more about the USBTA?
You can follow us definitely on social media. I always am available if you want to reach out to me personally with my email, and then our website as well.
Gotcha. And I'll definitely include links to all that in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Alrighty. Again, we've been visiting with Dana Costa, president of the USBTA. And Dana, really appreciate the time. Thanks for everything that you're doing, and certainly look forward to following the progress of blind tennis here in the U.S.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at Eyes Free Sports.